Now we get to my crown jewel predictions for Friday. Again, my expectations are not exactly through the roof. It could end up being a good show. Evolution, I said the same thing about. I didn't really care about that show going in, but that was a different story. These international shows feel like televised house shows. From Greatest Royal Rumble to Super Showdown. I feel like this will be no different, but I hope some of the matches on paper do have potential. So I'm hoping it exceeds expectations, at least from an in-ring standpoint. And they give us a couple of great matches, but we'll see. For the SmackDown Tag Team titles, The Bar versus The New Day. The Bar just won the belts at SmackDown 1000. It would be a mistake to get the belts right back on New Day, which they could do, but I think The Bar will retain. In the WWE World Cup, so the quarterfinals will look like this. Intercontinental Champion Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley. Kurt Angle versus Dolph Ziggler, which I'm looking forward to a lot. Jeff Hardy versus The Miz. And Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton. So this is how I had the bracket shaken out. Rollins beats Bobby. There's no real reason for the IC champion to lose in the first round. You're saying, oh, why wouldn't Dean Ambrose come out and cost him the victory? Well, bear with me here. Bear with me. I don't think that happens in the first round. Don't blow your load in the first round. There's no real reason. I mean, I guess we could get Angle and Ziggler, or Angle and Lashley, rather, in the quarterfinals, in the semifinals. I don't know why you would do that, but I guess you could. I wouldn't do that personally, but I would have Rollins go over there, Angle go over, beat Ziggler. I think Angle and Ziggler could be a really, really good match. But I would do Rollins and Angle. I'm not sure when we'll ever get this match, so I feel like the time isn't out to do it. Rollins and Angle, Rollins wins. So I feel like that's another match that could be a fucking banger if given the time it deserves. So hopefully it is. On the SmackDown side, Mysterio and Orton. Orton's on a roll right now, but Rey Mysterio just came back, so I got Mysterio going over. Jeff Hardy and The Miz. The Miz wins. And that leads to Miz and Mysterio in the semifinals, which we saw on SmackDown a few weeks ago. So I would, and Rey Mysterio won. So I think The Miz will get his win back by beating Rey Mysterio. The finals will look like this. Rollins versus The Miz. That's when Ambrose interferes, costs Rollins the victory, giving Miz the win, and the title of the best in the world, which he's obviously not, but that's the whole point. The Miz can use that against AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, whoever's in the WWE Championship picture by next week. He can claim he's the best in the world and use that over Daniel Bryan. So I feel like Miz winning writes itself. Not only that, but Shane did say in SmackDown this week that whoever makes it to the finals of the SmackDown Superstars, and if they lose, they're fired, which makes absolutely no sense. I don't know why Shane would want more star power on Raw, because if Miz, Orton, Hardy, or Rey Mysterio lose, why the fuck would he want them on Raw? That makes no sense. So anyway, I got Miz winning for all those reasons. I feel like it just writes itself. It makes sense. And Miz goes on to vie for the WWE Championship at some point. That's probably why he lost the match to Daniel Bryan at Super Showdown. They don't really think these things that far ahead, but maybe they did. Maybe they did. Maybe that's why I was a bit disappointed that Miz did not win that match, but maybe it was because he could win this tournament. And we get Bryan and AJ one-on-one before Miz gets spliced into the title picture by next week or so. We'll see. Just in time for Survivor Series and TLC later on this year. Speaking of the WWE Championship, AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Samoa Joe. I feel like they could have put anyone in that slot, but they were adamant about putting Joe in that slot, despite the fact that Joe's now lost 3 times, or technically twice, but he's failed to win the championship 3 times from AJ. At SummerSlam, Hell in a Cell, and Super Showdown. Why would you do a 4th match? I guess they could do a non-finish, but that just feels lazy to me. Which we've also seen with these two before. I would have Joe win the championship. I would put the belt on Joe. AJ's now had it for close to almost exactly 1 year. It's going to be 1 year next Wednesday. Joe winning, snapping the streak would be a big moment. A lot of great heel heat for him. He deserves one run as world champion. And that also sets up Joe, AJ, and Bryan in a 3-way for either an episode of SmackDown or for, the TLC pay-per-view in December if they end up going with the champion versus champion theme for Survivor Series. So that would be awesome, too. AJ, Bryan, Joe. I mean, if AJ retains clean against Joe, which would be a waste of Joe, again, very detrimental to his credibility, then where do you go? Bryan tapped clean on Tuesday. Joe would have lost clean again. So where the fuck do you go with this feud if AJ wins again? Nowhere. So I have Joe win. Daniel Bryan's in chase mode because Joe hurt him on Tuesday. And then AJ obviously has his rematch for the championship. So I got Joe, new WWE champion. That may not be exactly a popular pick, but he's my pick to become the champion on Friday. For the Universal Championship, Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman, the vacant title here. Braun's got to win. I could see people saying, oh, Brock, he's a bigger name. They want the title on a bigger name. They had to have realized that the only reason that Brock was champion for so long was so Roman can beat him and get cheered for it, because Brock's reign lasted forever. They can't go back to that shit. They really can't, can they? No. Unless they want the belt on Brock in time for UFC in January, and even then that's a dumb idea because he would not bring the championship with him anyway. That would be a fucking mistake. Raw is already in shambles. You do not need a champion that's never there. So Braun's got to win that match. Then in the main event, D-Generation X versus the Brothers of Destruction, marking the in-ring return for Shawn Michaels, his first bout back since WrestleMania 26 in 2010. People are saying, well, Shawn can't lose his first match back, right? Well, it's a tag team match. He doesn't have to win. I feel like the Brothers of Destruction will win. They lost at Super Showdown when Taker lost to Triple H. We'll have Taker pin Triple H, and then Shawn will come back and face Undertaker at some point down the road, which I don't really want to see, personally. But they could do it. Fuck it. Why not? So I could see them doing that. I have Brothers of Destruction going over.